Hi everyone, producer Olu here with a small announcement about this week's episode. Due to a last-minute change of topics and my own forgetfulness in updating the introduction for this recording session, there is a little bit of confusion at the start of the episode regarding the topics that Jason and Carlos will be talking about. Usually, I edit these mistakes out. However, that wasn't possible in this particular case. I ask for your understanding, and with that said, I hope you enjoy the show.
The other one is the collapsed Francis Scott Bridge in Maryland.
Yep, never heard it called Maryland. Yep.
How do you say it?
Maryland.
Maryland.
Not Maryland. That's a weird attraction at some creepy amusement park.
I'm really hoping Ollie cuts out, but he won't.
Cue Eye of the Tiger. Low energy Friday. Need us to get into gear. Righto. Welcome back to the podcast. I think we go straight into it. Carlos, how are you, mate? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I'm good. Couple of interesting projects for you on the news this week.
Okay, this is my weekly news roundup because otherwise all I see is Donald Trump memes.
Yeah, or Keir Starmer. Yeah, it's not good reading, but the construction news is way more interesting.
I definitely don't get Keir Starmer news. What's Keir Starmer up to? You can bring me up to speed on that one as well. Has he cancelled any more projects?
He's releasing prisoners, and everyone's kicking off about it. But,
that might make reduce the cost of labour.
Yeah, that's true. Right, two projects for you. First one, Etihad Rail from the UAE has got an agreement to build a $2.5 billion rail line in Jordan.
Okay.
It looked like it was 50 to 100 miles in length, and it's basically transporting phosphate from a mining facility to the production facility.
Someone listening to this is Googling where's Jordan now, but definitely not me. Yep.
So the line basically runs along the Israeli-Jordan border, north to south.
Okay.
So pretty heavy freight, 16 million tons a year. They're the fifth biggest phosphate producer in the world. It's going to start in 2026 and take 4 years.
Presumably connecting to shipping channels then.
Well, I think it goes from mine to facility where they refine it. I think phosphate's like agriculture and fertilizer and stuff like that, largely, right?
Something in there. Let's not be too specific. Yep.
Yeah. I think it's also plastic and all sorts. Anyway, I didn't go hard into that quite a big project. Yeah, Etihad Rail have won that. The other one is...
I'm presuming that's the same Etihad as Etihad, the airline?
Well, I think it's just basically a state country. So Etihad's Abu Dhabi, and they've got Etihad brands all over the place. So is Etihad the airline, Etihad Rail. I think it's basically... I'm going to be called out by 100 people for saying this, but it will be owned by the Sheikh or the state.
Like an Adani or something in India.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quasi, we're not connected, but we are connected sort of setup.
Yeah. I'm not the one making all the money. It's for the state, but I am. Yeah. The other one is the collapsed Francis Scott Bridge in Maryland.
Never heard it called Maryland. Yep.
How do you say it?
Maryland.
Maryland.
Not Maryland. That's a weird attraction at some creepy amusement park.
I'm really hoping Ollie cuts out, but he won't. Francis Scott Bridge.
No, you can slow it down. He can drag the Mary out even further.
So Kiewit have been chosen to replace the bridge. Yeah, the interesting thing was 73 million. That bridge was massive. It seems quite cheap, but I guess
which bridge? This isn't the bridge that collapsed, or it is.
Yeah.
Really,
the big steel one.
Yeah. Wow.
So 73 million. I don't know much about bridges, but that seems pretty good.
Isn't that the one? Wasn't there? That must have been Baltimore, the one that they put back in 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, that was a different one. But this one collapsed onto a ship.
Yeah, right.
So it looks like quite a major bridge. So I was just thinking, I couldn't find any information on this, so I'm just wrong. But I was thinking maybe they've just done it at cost or something like that because it's a rebuild of a collapsed structure. It's a good thing to do. But I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Like when
a
lawyers
rates,
have
like an introductory offer type thing.
pro bono.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's,
Anyway,
I doubt it, but could be.
I like to think there's some good in the industry.
It's probably like a buy one get two free type of thing.
yeah. If you do this, you have to give us this contract.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. No, there's good to hear there's more projects coming around the world. And I guess maybe let's dive into the topics that we're going to cover this week. So first off, we're going to kick off with the news that Mace has won a bid to develop the King Salman International Airport, which is intended to be the biggest, or one of the biggest, let's just go with the biggest airport ever. Next, we're going to dive into a new tool/platform designed to minimize the variability and the stress around finding the right subcontractor and vendor called Trestle. And then finally, we're going to look at the EU and their big transport development plans, specifically Poland's plans for 1.4 billion of new rail projects. That doesn't feel like the right topic that producer Olu has put there. We're actually going to talk about the Lyon Turin rail line instead. So late change to programming.
When you said that.
No, that's good. We all make errors, and sometimes we read out the errors live in a podcast. So let's just quick change, see if we can slide that in.
He will cut that part.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's like this guy will read anything that's on the teleprompter.
It's like Anchorman.
So let's go. This airport. This is the most interesting topic that we're talking about today for me. This airport is absolutely massive. So a few weeks ago, Mace, the UK, I guess it's a bit of a conglomerate. They have kind of like a consulting division and a construction division, but they were awarded a delivery partner role on this airport in Riyadh. It forms part of the Saudi Arabia Vision 2030 scheme. It's planned to make up an area of 57 square kilometers and plans to be able to handle 120 million passengers annually by 2030, which is like in infrastructure development timelines, like the day after tomorrow. And they're expecting for that to increase to almost 200 million people by 2050. Carl, that's a big project. Thoughts?
That is a big project. Yeah, so it's hard to imagine what 57 square kilometers is, but there's 6 parallel runways.
Have we done how many football fields that is?
I haven't this time. No, I think I've mentioned that like 6 times in the last 2 episodes. So there's 6 parallel runways. One of their big sort of marketing lines is Saudi Arabia is within 8 hours flight time of 70% of the world in terms of population. So like Dubai's a massive travel hub. Planes are actually going through and taking off again rather than sort of just pure tourist destination.
Yep.
This all plays part of this bet that they're actually going to be a hub. Like at the moment, there's no Saudi airline that's based in Saudi Arabia that everyone uses to get international flights. I guess I'm looking forward to the big reveal of this airline that's going to bring all these people in, because there's no way they're going to do that sort of traffic for people visiting the country unless we're all wrong about NEOM and every other project and their ability to pull people in. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. If you compare it to other major airports, they said they'll do 120 tomorrow and 185 million in 2050.
The day after, yep.
Yeah. And if you look at other airports, the biggest is Atlanta, 107. And then you've got like Beijing, Dubai, LA, Tokyo, the major ones. And they're all way under.
That's if you base it in like passenger traffic. I prefer to measure it in runways. Chicago O'Hare International Airport's got 8 runways, although they're not all parallel. So there's some crisscrossing runways.
Yeah.
But 6 is up there.
Yeah. But also like the top 10 are countries that people like have massive tourist industry. So that's the part I can't work out at the moment, because there isn't a big tourist industry in Saudi Arabia. And
it just
goes. Whole
goes.
vision is one massive bet that it all works. Otherwise,
they just have to do it. Well, the time, I guess, the clock's ticking on the like switch off of oil or the
100%. It makes sense.
So they can't do it over 300 years like another country might have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's they had announced, I think it was the last year or the year before, a new national carrier airline. So the plan is to do airport and new airline and be this travel hub. But that, if you've heard that story before, that's the exact same pitch from like a UAE.
Yeah.
And so we now have there's 4 of these countries or regions going, we're within 7 hours travel of, 80% of the world's population or whatever. So they're literally directly competing. So they announced in March 23 Riyadh Air. It's going to be based at that airport and have its first flight in 2025 is the plan. In, I guess, classic Saudi style, this new startup airline, Riyadh Air, has placed an initial order for 72 787s. So just starting with a small fleet of 72 jumbo jets.
You just killed my research by giving me all the details on the thing that I hoped to see. Yeah, that's okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess it's super interesting that obviously the goal is to diversify away from this oil economy.
Yeah.
The investment is happening simultaneously at a massive scale in stimulating all sorts of economies, building entirely new cities, building all this infrastructure. And it all has to kind of magically come together.
Yeah.
Or I guess you think about how things happen organically and then things that are kind of artificially stimulated. And yeah, this is definitely on the non-organic growth pathway, go mate.
One of the big reasons the UAE worked is they've gone quite sort of Western and less extreme in their laws and everything that comes with it from a cultural point of view. So it'll be interesting to see if they can maintain the principles that they live by in Saudi and achieve this world destination. So I think that's the thing that is struggling to get my head around. Yeah, will they go down the same path?
Yeah, I'm going to steer clear of the. I'm going to steer clear. I'm going to dodge that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's focus on engineering. One thing that sort of immediately jumped out is we've got 6 runways. Oh, Olu, 8,000 football pitches. Thank you. So we've got 8,000 football pitches worth of basically tarmac and structures on sand. Sand kind of acts like water. This is a QS saying that, not an engineer. So
this is when you're construction adjacent. You make comments like sand kind of acts like water.
Yeah, I'm going to cut back to Jason in 2 lines' time. But I was thinking that must be quite difficult. I looked into Dubai Airport, which is obviously another very large airport built on sand. And they had to have this combination of these, they call them ground improvement techniques. I'm not going into that, but very deep piles across the entire footprint. 8,000 football pitches of deep piles sounds like a huge challenge. But yeah, do you have any experience of building structures on sand?
You'd have to know more about the actual geography at the site. But first of all, Riyadh is fairly inland. So the comment about sand acting like water, that's true in Dubai where you've got water and sand and it gets that plasticity to it. This is inland, so this is much more sand acts like sand. The interesting, I guess, for the apron and the runway. So the apron is the bit of tarmac that is not the runway, but where planes park and scoot around and whatever. I'd guess it'd be acting like a big floating slab thing. They're surely not going to pile who knows what they're doing. There's all sorts of things they might be doing, and I'd just be totally guessing. They could be doing that kind of grout. You mix it in, you do that kind of grout injection, or you mix the soil back in with cement, and there's all sorts of things that people might be doing.
Okay.
But sand without water is definitely better than sand with water as a starting point.
Okay. Yeah. Bonus then.
Yeah. But also what's interesting is how as a strategy for the country, it's also a big bet that there's all of these projects in Riyadh. They're basing the national carrier in Riyadh. I don't know if you've seen some of the, we've been through in previous episodes, these lists of mega projects all based around Riyadh. And at the same time, there's this NEOM investment, which is nowhere near. And that needs its own airport. I don't know, if I was playing the game of SimCity build a country from scratch really quickly, I don't know that I would start in two different places at the same time. But this is where I now say stupid things outside of my lane. So, what do you reckon?
I don't know. I'm probably oversimplifying it and combine that with a lack of understanding and knowledge on the whole thing. But if you're running out of oil and that's your primary source of income, there's not many other cards to play. So if you're going to play it big, maybe is the mindset. So
the investments are, it's big bickies. That is for sure. Cool. No, I think I definitely think it would be good to have even more as someone that has to do that commute occasionally that goes through one of those hubs. I definitely like the idea of some more competition, and I hope they take like the Uber strategy of when they launch in the market, they do it at like crazy cheap prices. The ability to commute from, say, Oz to the UK cheaper would be lovely.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. No, awesome project, and obviously a big win for Mace as well.
Yeah, Mace have some decent contracts. They seem to be doing well in the Middle East, so they're quite involved in NEOM. They were involved in the Red Sea project, or are involved in the Red Sea project, and there's a few others too. So it seems to be working well for them, and they're quite a well-regarded brand over there.
Cool. Changing tact away from speculating about airports in other countries, we're going to look at this startup named Trestle that's looking to have a crack at something that you've talked about 420 times on the podcast, which is like vendor risk management. So at its core, Trestle's goal is to improve the process of finding and managing subcontractors through the use of like pre-qualification and profiles and reviews about each of the subcontractors' history and performance, and then through this pre-qualification system that they meet the sort of standards before they're engaged. I feel like every time we've talked about procurement or commercial improvements on projects, your number one thing is like vendor assessments and risk, and what have they done on previous projects, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm imagining you're excited.
Yeah, I think first thing I need to call out is, we've called out a few niche carving exercises, but they're the most advanced AI-powered vendor pre-qualification platform for heavy construction, which is another nice statement.
You got to give yourself a nice little hill to walk up, rather.
The app looks really cool. A little gripe that I have is there's no video content, so it's really hard to see anything of depth.
Because you're strictly a video learner. Don't make me read stuff.
Reading, is tough. But no, they seem to have a very strong gear towards the profile sort of community aspect of things. And if you think back to projects, understanding how contractors perform is really difficult. Some contractors have these sort of centralized, very high-level scoring systems based on performance reviews that are done on site. And the performance reviews are always great because it's a package manager working with the subby, and they're going to be naturally biased unless they're having a terrible time. And then what most people end up doing is it's the view from the agent, the construction manager, the PM on that subcontractor from a previous job, which is heavily biased too. So this idea that we have real scored metrics across the supply chain to help guide you towards selecting the right contractor, and that community aspect looks really strong. And it's not just like a loose, this is rated 4.5 out of 5. It has information like total contracts that have been awarded, the value, the average value, the creep. So lots of contractors get onto sites with a £1 million contract and leave with 10. That's a big red flag. Looking at actual contract performance, not just like someone's view on whether they were nice, is a good step in the right direction.
Can I ask you, so I guess also for context, they recently raised to 2.5 or 2.3 million in like early stage pre-seed funding. So it's very early. They're just getting rolling. Do you think that this is a tool, like an internal, a SaaS platform that's trying to be that internal knowledge base of ratings? Is this trying to be kind of like a G2 or, like an Uber scoring system across the industry?
You wouldn't. They probably don't share. Again, a video would help this. They probably don't share the contract information outside of your contractor.
Yeah,
like contract value, maybe, unless they anonymize it all, then maybe it could work.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's a real community. Like you can see how they're performing everywhere, and they're building up a profile, and then you're rewarded for being a great supply chain member.
Yeah, I think that's what I got the sense as well, to be kind of like this G2 for construction vendors. What's interesting is how valuable that, like, I'm thinking about how do they make money. I'm imagining, and it looks like they might charge a fee to access that kind of network to the people writing the contracts.
Yep.
As someone that's been in that space, how valuable would you view this kind of aggregated, anonymized rating system across other contractors that you can't kind of then like double click in and say, well, what was the specifics of that? I can imagine you get some like outliers where there's a contractor that's screwed over, there's like a subby that's screwed over 5 contractors and they're going to rate really low. But, with the cycle time of construction, they could be doing that for a couple of years before the rating system even like feeds back that's a problem. So I'm imagining you'll definitely be able to like uncover very bad actors. But if you've got 3 vendors for your project and one's a 4.2, one's a 3.9, and one's a 3.6, how do you take that into account? Would you take it into account?
Yeah.
Or would you just do what we always do, which is what's the cheapest one, and are they above a 1?
Oh okay, wait, cool. You always have really poor performing contracts, but we save money. So there's going to be that really weird grey area, and at the moment it looks like it's relatively small contractors using it. So until you have the masses on there, it's probably not very useful. And unless the masses understand that the big contractors are actually letting works on there, they're not going to commit too much time you would expect. I can't see it taking off big time unless a government sort of mandates it. We've got a tool here, it's pretty poor. The government could say, well, let's stop developing our own system and just use this one. The supply chain probably aren't that keen on having these public reviews. They'd rather probably go in a bit colder and be able to like form their own narrative and control that narrative.
I don't know if you've looked recently, but like Google reviews is like a dumpster fire if you're like a small business.
Yeah, because you only see the bad.
Yeah.
And then the other part is if you're the main contractor putting a bid out to get prices or responses, and a supply chain member goes, we don't use this tool, are they then not allowed to submit outside of that tool? Are you forcing them to use that tool? Are you then narrowing your pool of contractors that you can use because you've decided to use this platform, but you only get the community in there?
I don't think it even does that submission piece. I think it's literally just a rating system. It literally is like a G2, type of
So it allows you to sort of put something out there that has like the documents. It allows you to do the communication. It allows you to do bits and pieces. I don't think it does the like vendor selection process after that.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's a good point. It's kind of just the early top of funnel type stuff.
There's definitely like some things that can be. There's definitely a problem here. It's hard to see how it's valuable enough to solve. Unlike G2. So for those that don't know G2s are like a big a platform that does feedback and rating of a lot of software products, and it's got this big community of people, and they actually make money by funneling leads to software vendors. So I don't know, ClickUp or Asana or something gets people can click through and request like a demo or info, and they make money on the leads. The difference with construction is how hyper local it is, and so the likelihood, even if this website had as much traffic as G2, which is very, very lofty goal, the likelihood that the person looking for a drilling company or a piling company is geographically located in a spot serviced by you as the potential piling company is like almost nothing. Whereas like a software company, they can just serve it anywhere in the world. So all the traffic is, good traffic as long as it's looking for the right.
Yeah.
So it just seems like a I don't know. It seems like a very challenged business model. And then on the flip side of that, you have some really cool companies doing the like procurement platform type thing, and each of those are kind of building their own little pre-qualification system thing attached to it, which will have better visibility of the performance of the contractor and probably does the rating. You know, you could imagine like a Procure Pro or whatever, if they could probably extract from the history of the contract a lot of the rating stuff and then just ask one or two questions on top.
It's got massive issues with trying to tackle big projects, but if they're focusing on smaller, so there's an application here called, I think it's called My Builder, where you just go on and you say, I need an extension done on my house, and you get a load of local builders respond back to it with pricing information. So maybe it's just trying to.
It's not that, because there's a million of them in the US. So yeah, it's definitely not like that kind of like Fiverr for construction work or whatever.
Yeah.
It's definitely heavy, like you said at the start. It's for heavy civil. Yeah, no,
nice explainer video would have been handy.
Well, it's about now you wish you had an explainer. No, I think like obviously definitely see that there's a problem.
Yeah, the problem exists. It's why are you doing one part of like three core parts of this process? That's the question mark.
How do you extract enough value from that to have a business is probably the harder question. Tricky. So definitely good luck to them. I'd be interesting to see how it progresses, because they can see they've got the plans for like this API platform. You can imagine how someone's running procurement in like another platform, so whatever Procore or whatever, and then they make a call out to this marketplace thing and get some scoring stuff back, and there's some value exchange there, but it requires you to have already solved the problem of everyone's on the platform and we've got a really rusted rating system. Anyway, I think interested to see how it progresses. Should we jump on to our last topic before we run out of time?
Yep.
All right, let's jump into final topic, and we'll keep it snappy because we're short on time. But previously we've talked about Rail Baltica as part of Trans-European Transport Network, TEN-T. There are two other major projects currently underway alongside Rail Baltica, and one of them is this Lyon to Turin High-Speed Rail project, which is a 270-mile rail line with a planned tunnel that's set to be the world's longest rail tunnel upon completion. I feel like we've done a lot of world's largest or longest or most number of football fields today. This is a really cool project, and I think super valuable in terms of what it's trying to do, where it's planned to complete in 2032. Reduce travel time through the Alps. So this, for those that don't know geography, the same people that are looking at where is Jordan before. This is actually going through the Alps from France to Italy, so straight under some great skiing. It's supposed to shift over 1 million trucks per year from road to rail through this route, which historically has been a lot of the freight network here. A lot of the freight movement here has been road travel over and through the Alps, and reduce CO2 emission by around 3 million tons annually, which that seems like a lot of tons. So I think it's a cool project, Carlos.
Yeah, really cool. It's one that's been long in the making. So it looks like they wanted to start in 2002, which is 22 years ago. But it says there's political delays, but it seems like Italy were non-committal and actually hard committed to the scheme in 2019.
That doesn't sound like that.
Yeah. And the EU are quite heavily funding it. So I think they're funding 40% and it's going to rise to 55%. So yeah, it's heavily subsidized. That was probably a part of the kicker that Italy hard committed to the scheme. It's pretty big. They've already let some over £1 billion packages. The two big ones already are the tunnel boring sort of packages. Mm-hmm. So there's a 22-kilometer section tunnel given to Eiffage by Batignolles.
Go for it. Yeah, good. That'll do.
Cool. And then the second one, these are both around 1.5 billion, is Vinci and WeBuild. So yeah, some pretty mega schemes. I think
it's Batignolles. I'm just going to guess, but we'll get some corrections there.
Nice. I'll let you do it next time because yeah, I'm going to get called out for this quite a lot. So yeah, massive project. I don't know if like driving on those roads, they're not big highways and they do wrap around the mountain. So the reduction in CO2, the more than halving in travel time, letting those nice, beautiful roads not have 1 million trucks a year on them, like seems like a triple win. So yeah, awesome project. It would be a cool one to work on. Not many tunnels are built under the Alps. All round thumbs up, I think.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of projects that you might move to go and work on, I'd say you're going to be located pretty conconveniently next to some great skiing.
I'll take the Chambry office.
Hiking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, cool project and good to see it like finally underway. Yeah, I think, what did we say? You said 40-50% EU funding and then kind of split the difference roughly between France and Italy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Although most of the rail is in France, so definitely that's probably the political delays that were that
split based on
kilometers in one or the other.
If only we didn't leave the EU and we split the difference of the EU on HS2, that'd be handy.
Although you'd have to then explain to people that some of your money was going to build the tunnel between France and Italy.
Yeah.
Cool, mate. Do you want to? I think that was a super interesting project, and thought the topics that we covered today were cool. So do you want to read us out?
Yeah, no, great selection. Thumbs up to Olu. But no, thank you very much.
The last minute change of topic on the third one was well worth it, and I'm not at all upset about reading in the wrong one.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning into the show. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do like the video or follow us on your chosen podcast platform. We really appreciate your support, and we'll catch you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Chase.